Let me ask you this. Are you still trying to do everything by yourself? Are you scared to invest in people who can help you? Are you holding yourself back by refusing to ask for help?
Hello, this is the Hack Hour Podcast, a show where it's all about helping real, everyday, hardworking remodelers learn the secrets to having it all in life and business. And now, here's your host, Mike Minges.
Because here's the truth. No one succeeds alone. Not me, not you, no one. Every big breakthrough I've had in my business, in my health, in my personal life happened because I surrounded myself with people who were smarter than me, stronger than me, and further along in the journey than I was. Today I'm going to share those stories with you. Stories about my lead carpenter, Kenny, and my friends, Ben, Justin, and Tommy, and my business coach, Clay. People who helped me when I couldn't do it all alone. And if you're still trying to go at it alone, you're going to want to hear this one. All right. Welcome to the Hack Hour. This is the podcast where we break through the excuses, the mindset blocks, right? And really the things that just are holding you back from succeeding with your remodeling business. I'm Mike Minges. I am the founder of the Remodeling Academy. And today we're talking about the truths that changed my life. No one does it all. I'll share the stories of the key people who helped me achieve things I never could have done on my own. And I do this because if you're still trying to be successful in this industry by yourself, you're making it harder than it needs to be. So let me start with Kenny. He was my best lead carpenter and one of the most important people I ever hired. At the time, I had recently hired, I didn't know it at the time, but a friend of his, Bill. And as a lead carpenter. Unfortunately, this particular Bill, I've had more than one Bill work for me. Not all were terrible. Some were great. But this particular Bill was struggling. Here's the story. It's the irony, right? So had Bill not been struggling, I wouldn't have been at the lumber yard that morning at 6:30 a.m. and I would have never met Kenny. See, Bill was a carpenter at best. Not great, but definitely not a lead. He could talk the game, but he couldn't play or deliver in the game. On paper, he looked perfect. Union trained, years of experience, worked for some big companies. But the truth was, and I didn't have the skill set back then to recognize the difference between a great carpenter and someone who more or less knew how to sound good and talk great and present themselves well. It was a huge mistake, that first Bill I hired, right? Not because he was a bad person and not because I hired him for a job he really wasn't skilled enough to do, at that time. See, I wasn't in a position at that time to actually teach him or help him grow. And here's what I started to realize. There were far more talented carpenters out in the world, but they all had great jobs, and most of them were at good companies. If I wanted to attract great talent, I had to make my company amazing and had to put out a great offer. And to do that, I would have to build my company that was poised, to a place. It was a company that would be poised for growth and be doing great things itself. So even though the timing wasn't 100% right that day I met Kenny, I knew my future company had to have a guy like him in it. So here we are. It's that morning. We're at the lumber yard, and I'm helping another struggling employee along when I happened to meet this new guy. And I got introduced to Kenny. He was a union trade carpenter, just like the guy I was there helping. But the difference was clear. This guy, Kenny, he worked for successful professional remodeling companies, and his reputation spoke for itself. The way he presented himself, the way he communicated, I could tell he knew what he was doing. So I reached out to him, and we met up to discuss an opportunity with my company. I told him I needed someone like him to help lead my company in the field, and I would like him to play a big role in its growth. Was I ready? Maybe not. Was the timing perfect? Absolutely not. But I trusted that This was what I wanted. This was the kind of player I needed in my team, and thank God I did. From day one, Kenny didn't just bring his carpentry skills, he would bring insight. He became a very valuable resource. I could sit down and talk with him about business. He understood the business side and of remodeling. Some of you listening right now, you've been struggling so long that you can't even imagine how fast things can turn around when you start making different decisions. Here's the thing. Opportunity doesn't always show up when you think you're ready, right? The perfect employee, the right coach, or the big job, the profitable job, often is going to show up right when maybe you're not even sure if you can handle it, afford it, or could take advantage of it. See, a great event, workshop, or course is going to come up, and you'll question whether you're ready for it. But I'm here to tell you that you have to be ready to accept it. You have to face your fears if you want to achieve great things. See, Kenny showed me what was possible. He laid out a couple examples, right? Taught me how we could run jobs a little more efficiently based off of multiple different things that he had learned little by little working for other companies. None of the previous companies he worked for had it all put together, but he learned pieces. And what he was able to do was, by him and I sitting down, we were able to put multiple successful key components from several other companies, and we wrapped them all up into one amazing company, which would be my company, right? So he helped me understand as well how we could set higher standards on the job site itself. Kenny adhered to a higher standard. His attention to detail raised the bar for everyone. He had a good attitude. He was disciplined. He would show up on time. He would work hard. That is the model that I wanted out in the field. And Kenny was somebody who had the positive mindset and attitude. He was always open to leveling up his skills. He would not sit in the back of a training and chuckle and crack sarcastic jokes. He would actually move to the front of the room and lead by example and say, hey guys, this is important. This is going to benefit our future if we learn these things. And he never settled for just good enough. So hiring him wasn't just about adding talent to my team. It was about changing what I truly believed was possible for my business, right? Here's the lesson. If you're afraid to hire someone smarter or better or has different talents than you, you're holding yourself back, right? This guy that I brought on, he taught me so much. And without him, I wouldn't have grown into the leader, or I would have not been able to grow as the business owner that I needed to be. Now, the lesson here is sometimes opportunity will show up before you think you're ready, and you just have to have the courage to say yes. Now, I want to move into a different story in my journey, and this was one that is not that far back, right? I wanted to get into some powerlifting as I wanted to get back into shape, and you'll see how this relates to remodeling in a minute. And I want to share some of the people that helped me get there. When I decided to get into powerlifting, I knew I couldn't do it alone. I had a good friend at a CrossFit gym I went to. His name was Ben, and he was a trainer there. I got to know him really well, and he was also a hard worker, and he was very successful. You could tell it was important to him that he lifted well, and he was strong. He took care of himself. So one day, he shared with me, he knew I was wanted to do a powerlifting competition, and one day he shared with me that it just so happens he has a brother, Tommy, who's a competitive powerlifter. Now, Tommy didn't train at our gym. He trained at a different gym. He was training in a different discipline. Like I said, at the time, it was a CrossFit gym where I was going. So Ben reached out to his brother Tommy and asked if it would be all right if I met up with him, and his brother said sure. And I took advantage of that. I went and I worked out with his brother. It was humbling. Ben's brother Tommy taught me a lot of things I had no clue about. I literally, in about 1 hour, I got decades of insight from someone who had been in the sport much longer than me, who had competed, and learned several things through trial and error. He helped me leapfrog ahead, right? He helped me strategize what my opening weights for the competition would be. He looked at some form. He could see what I was able to pull in that lift, squat here, push there. And he helped me make a couple slight adjustments and said, look, this is probably what it's going to be like on the competition day. I wouldn't go for that. I would try this. Here's an opener I think you should go with. That way you get your confidence and at least you have a score. Then you can come back and push a little bit more for this. Once you hit that, then you can go all out for that last one. Now, in addition to that, right, he gave me tips for technique, form, and he also, the focus, right, that all completely changed how I was approaching this competition. Now, Tommy wasn't the only one, right? I had Ben, he was my friend. There was Justin, he was the owner of the gym I went to. These guys were all a huge part of my support system, right? They pushed me, encouraged me, and they helped me be accountable. And there were several other members of that gym that came every day dedicated to getting better, and they worked hard, and we all would relish, in a sense, when others achieved things, because we knew how hard we were working and we could see how hard our fellow members were working. And is it exciting to see people make progress and hit new records for themselves, PRs as a lot of people call it. But yes, you want to see people enjoy seeing someone get to a new milestone. So one winter day, life threw me a curveball, right? We had one of these rare perfect spring days. It was 70 degrees. It was beautiful. So I decided to take my motorcycle out of storage and go for a ride. I had a nice Road King, and I was having a blast. The sun was shining, the open road, and the weather was just phenomenal. The part of the country I live in, we normally don't have 70-degree weather in the wintertime. It's often sleet, rain, crap, snow, whatever. So all of a sudden, boom, I hit a turn, and I didn't see the leftover salt on the side of the road from an earlier snowstorm. And as I was leaning into the turn, the bike slid out from under me. 700 pounds, a metal pinned down on my leg. I skidded across the pavement. My pants were shredded, right? My legs jacked up. It's bleeding. My knee and ankle were just wrecked. I was furious. It wasn't that I had crashed like in general. It was that I had this powerlifting competition coming up, and I've been training for months. And just like that, boom, I thought that my likelihood of being able to compete in this powerlifting competition were gone. So luckily, it wasn't. The next day, I did get in touch with a physical therapist, and I found out I went in with the approach of how fast can I heal? What do I need to do to still be able to compete? The rehab was brutal, grueling, right? Physical therapy, stretching, strengthening, but I worked harder on the recovery than I actually did in some respects, maybe even in the training. And 6 weeks later, I was back at the competition on the platform. I completed and came in first in my age and weight class I came in second overall for all the masters overall. I lifted over 1,000 pounds combined across all three of the lifts. And this is coming from a guy who had really never squatted or deadlifted until I was in my 40s. And the takeaway here is I couldn't have done this all alone. I had some key people that worked together to help me, and had it not been for them pushing and teaching and supporting me every step of the way, I would not have been able to achieve that result. So I share this because if you are not surrounding yourself in your business and your life every day with people that are better and people that are driven and want success, right? People that will challenge you and lift you up and introduce you to better opportunities, then you're holding yourself back. Now, I want to talk this third story about my first business coach, Clay. And I remember the first time I heard him speak, I was at a conference for remodelers. I had originally gone there to get some more estimating skills, some project management, like accounting type training. And there just happened to be a gentleman there offering a talk in another room, something about like leveling up. I don't know. But I just overheard him, and I had a break in my schedule. So I said, let me go sit in this room. At first, I was like, what is this guy talking about? But something he said grabbed my attention. He had this very great positive attitude. He was a combination of relaxed yet intense about success and the ability that he thought those in the room had if they were willing to work for it. He would laugh, he would joke, but he also was speaking very direct. There was no sugarcoating it with this gentleman. Now, some people loved him and some didn't. And you know why? Because he wasn't afraid to say the tough things that many people wouldn't. He wasn't going to just lie and play it safe to make you feel better if the truth would not help you grow, right? He was going to speak what needed to be spoke. And I have learned firsthand that many people don't want to hear the truth, even though they need to hear the truth. So anyhow, as I sat there listening, I noticed something interesting. Some of the more successful remodelers in the room that I had recognized, they would nod and agree with what this gentleman was saying. Some of them I later found out were actually working with him, and that he was he was their coach. That's when it clicked for me. So this is what the more successful remodeling business owners do. This is how they think. This is their secret weapon. They have a guy like that, a business coach, on their team. And I made the decision right then that I needed a gentleman like that on my team. I needed to hire that guy. So here's the thing, though. I wasn't sure if he'd even consider working with me, right? I was only a few months into opening my business, and many of his clients were older than me, more experienced than me, had larger companies than me. And I had actually reached out to another organization that I wanted to get affiliated with, and they had turned me down, saying until I had higher revenue, more years in business, like you can't even get any classes or whatnot. So I had a negative attitude going in. But here's what I found out, that many of these guys that were running businesses 2 or 3 times the size of mine at the time, right? They didn't start out as these huge successes. Everyone starts out somewhere, right? And while I might not have the business pedigree at the moment, what I did have was the drive, and I was very thankful that I had the ability to recognize an opportunity that I needed. So I knew this road to success for me included going down a path with someone like this type of a business coach. So hiring him scared me to death. It cost me $10,000 just to get started. At the time, I didn't think that I could afford that. I mean, this is over 20 some years ago, right? So $10,000 today would be you know what I'm saying? $10,000 then compared to what $10,000 today is a lot more. But I also realized that I couldn't afford to not go forward. This gentleman was tough. He didn't let me off the hook. He showed me how to stop working in my business and really hammered into me how I needed to be working on it. And within 1 year, my sales doubled, right? So here's the thing. I give him X amount of money and I get back way more. That was a huge lesson for me. It was like how do I keep doing this? It was like putting money into a cash machine that just doubled and tripled what I put in is what I would get back. So it was interesting. When I first started with this gentleman, one of the first things he said to me was like, Mike, your website's not that great. You're losing business. And he right away connected me to a buddy of his who was a web designer. And I want to say that gentleman charged me somewhere close to like maybe $5,000-$6,000 for my new website. And again, this felt like another huge leap. Like I had a website. It just wasn't perfect. It wasn't great. But I trusted my coach and I took the risk. Here's what happened. This new website helped me land my first $100,000 kitchen remodel. Again, we're talking over 20 years ago, these numbers. And that project also got featured on our website. And that caught the attention of a producer of HGTV who reached out to me and wanted us to be featured on a kitchen reality TV show. This exposure was of me doing things and getting outside of my comfort zone, right? It also led me to other opportunities, including, as I've discussed before, I had a Virginia law firm hire me as an expert witness to be involved in litigation cases against contractors and homeowners. That I learned valuable insight from doing stuff like that. So like working on those cases, it taught me firsthand how to avoid disputes, make sure that clients paid on time, protect myself, from ever ending up in court at all. So imagine my coach's impact went way beyond just the opening doors. He taught me how to think bigger and embrace it. When I told him I wanted to build more decks and do screen porches, he said, great, let's figure out how to make that happen for you. When I said I want to become a higher end kitchen remodeling company with in-house design, he said, awesome, let's get going. He helped me create a plan and execute it. When I said I wanted to expand right into larger design build services, again, he worked with me to lay that proper foundation to get there. See, this gentleman, he could see holes in my business because he had experience, right? Holes that I couldn't see myself because I was too close to it. He had grown his own business, he coached others, and he knew what it took. He'd ask me questions like, show me your change order process. I'd show it to him and he'd say, okay, well, how well is that working? And I'd share the issues that we were running into, and he could clearly see why we were having those issues. Then he would help me determine, and we would come up with the exact changes that I needed so that I could get different results and the business would run better, right? Easier for us in the future. Now, I invested in like his business planning and marketing workshops. I would do retreats. And it's there that I realized just how much I didn't know about running the successful remodeling company, about how to be just a much better leader. These retreats were ridiculous, the information you come back learning when you do some self-discovery. And I would come back with a transformed mindset about what was truly possible for both my personal life and my business. So, he taught me that I could have it all as long as I planned it out and started taking action to make it happen. Over the years, I flew all over the country to learn from him. I would go to trainings and workshops. We would go to Malibu. I went to Las Vegas, right? And other events across the country. And every time I came back with a renewed mindset, a refreshed energy, and actionable strategies to implement. And here's the thing, right? He helped me see opportunity, where I at times was only seeing problems. Without his direction, I could have defaulted to seeing more roadblocks everywhere, as that was what I naturally would do. I needed a mindset shift, and I needed someone else's perspective. I needed someone to stand up to some of my negative thoughts and challenge me. See, most of the people that were around me or that would work for me, and it's not their fault, they would often just tell me what I would want to hear, right? And that's not what I needed to hear, right? Having a coach was different, and he would give me the talk that I needed, very straight, direct, and that's what made all the difference. So, can you see like the chain reaction here? One decision to hire a coach led to multiple opportunities that I never could have imagined would have been possible. Now, what all of this taught me was that success doesn't come from staying comfortable, right? It comes from taking bold action and steps, investing in yourself and surrounding yourself with people who can see the things that you can't see yet. And if you could see them, then you would be seizing those opportunities and making it happen. So the fact that you're not lets you know that, wow, I really am not seeing it because I'm not doing it. See, every major success I've had happened because I leaned on other people, whether it was those early carpenter hires that elevated my business, the guys that helped me train to get stronger, or the coaches that opened some massive doors for me. See, if you're still struggling to do it all yourself, you're only holding yourself back. It's nobody else's fault. It's not the economy. It's not your employees. It's not your customers. It's you. Stop being afraid to ask for help, invest in the right people, and surround yourself with greatness. So here's my challenge to you. What and who do you need to bring into your business or your life right now, right? What coach, mentor, or teammate can help get you to the next level? Stop trying to figure it out all alone. Find the people who will push you, teach you, and lift you up. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Hack Hour. Look, if this episode hits home for you, do me a favor, like it, subscribe, share it. Come on over to the Remodeling Academy. Sign up for the Morning Hammer newsletter where you'll get some good tips and strategies. Keep listening to this podcast. Look into our Remodel Games 5-day challenge that we're offering, right? And consider seeing if you have what it takes to be in our coaching program. When you're ready to transform your business will transform for you. You're just one step away from getting the coaching and the help that you need. Remember, no one succeeds alone. Surround yourself with greatness, and let's build something incredible together. All right, guys, have a good one.
Thank you for listening to the Hack Hour podcast. It would be awesome if you would leave us a quick review on iTunes. To further your remodeling success, go to remodelingriches.com.